back to the channel. It's been a long time since you guys have seen me. It's also been a long time since I've seen a haircut or a shave, as you guys can tell. Anyways, I just wanted to say real quick that nice burnout you guys seen in the intro, that was from my good buddy Faustino Garcia. Unfortunately, he passed recently, and that was at his funeral. That's all I'm going to say about that, or else it's going to get real depressing, and he wouldn't want me making depressing videos. But he was one of my biggest supporters. You guys may have seen him in the comments before. If you didn't know him, if you did know him, then you know he was an awesome dude. So yeah, anyways, these were the slicks that were on the car for that burnout, and these were also the slicks that were on the car for what this video is about, which is the weekend that I ended up in the finals at the Hinton street races against the one and only BoostedGT. So I'm sure you guys are a little confused on how we got there from the 4.8 radial stuff. Anyways, I'll give you guys some quick little updates. I'm not going to go over everything, or else we'd be here for hours, as there has been quite a bit that I have not showed you guys, but I do plan on going back and showing some of that. So anyways, the car no longer has the 4.8 in it. I did end up resetting the 4.8 record before I pulled it out. If you didn't see that on my Facebook, I did share it there. I ended up going a 471 at 149 miles per hour. I do plan to, in the future, if you guys would like, making a video going over that more and showing what went into making that happen. But for now, we're going to be talking about this weekend where I ended up in the finals with BoostedGT. So anyways, we're going to start out on Friday. I had been on the slicks a few times before this weekend, but yeah, like I said, we'll probably get into those in some later videos. So anyways, we started out Friday. We ended up getting invited to a private test session at Amarillo Dragway. Our good friend Jeffrey Tidmore had rented the track, and we being me and Michael Dickinson, both would like to get some more data on the slicks before going into Hinton. Since Hinton is a off the trailer race, we wanted to try some things and didn't want to try it first round in a race. So we went to Amarillo Dragway. I'll show you guys Michael's pass first. So we're trying some different things here with power management in order to keep the slicks happy. I'll show you his first pass, which went pretty well. I think we may have figured out our problem. Alright, so that pass there is probably the fastest pass that you guys have seen on the channel from the car. However, it's not a personal best, you know, we were a little ways away from that still, but it was a very good pass for the first pass, and we were really happy with that, and felt like maybe we were starting to figure something out with the power management on the slicks. So anyways, we went right into testing my car next, and I had put a much different tune-up than I had ever ran before in mine as well, and I'll show you guys how that went for mine. Alright, so as you guys seen, that was a real straight, nice pass, straight to the 330 cone, just about wiped it out. Anyways, what ended up happening there, there's some kind of bump or something, I believe it was about 40 feet out or so on the track, that for whatever reason, we would point the car straight and it would hit that little bump and turn it left just a little bit, and I just overdrove the car a little bit there, trying to make it to the 330 cone at least, and I was going to lift there because I wanted to get my 330 time just to see if the changes that I had made were beneficial. In hindsight, it was just testing. I should have lifted before then, but we came out of it all right. So anyways, that pass was on its way to being a personal best on slicks for me, so pretty happy with that. Felt like we were really figuring some things out. So I will show you guys a couple more of the passes from Michael's and a couple more of them from mine, and then we'll talk more about those afterwards. All right, so as you guys may be able to tell, we continued going faster and making some pretty good passes, and those last 2 passes you've seen were actually personal best for myself on slicks and for Michael Dickinson just in general as well. So that was pretty cool. We were really happy with that, and we felt like we were finally figuring these slicks out. I've been battling with them for a while, and I've never really felt like I had them figured out. Even still don't feel like I do, but felt like we were getting somewhere. So anyways, after those passes, they went and re-prepped the track to make it a little bit stickier for us, just to see if we can go even faster than those personal bests we had just set. And anyways, I will show you guys how it went after that. So as you may be able to tell, there were no more personal bests set that night, and we went right back to, well, I went back to being completely confused and questioning everything and not sure if I had actually figured anything out or if I just knew even less than before we started testing. So frustrating, but basically looking back at it, I think what happened there was just the track got so good that we just couldn't keep the tires from shaking. So we just needed to make some changes in order to prevent that. The track had got so good that I think even a radial would have worked really well there. It wasn't a big deal because the surface that we were testing for the next day, as I said, was a street. So we didn't need the track to be that good, and that data those issues that we had shaking the tires there, we're really too worried about that being an issue the next day. Unfortunately, after that test session, we did find out that Michael Dickinson had an issue with his flex plate. He had noticed it a few times before, where he would be cranking the car over, and as soon as it would actually fire off, he would hear a clunk, and then it just continued to get worse. And then this day, actually, he ended up starting it the next morning to load up and head to Hinton, and it was clunking really bad, and they ended up figuring out that the flex plate bolts had come loose, and the flex plate was just kind of spinning on its own there, just not tight to the crank, so it was just eating out those bolt holes and tearing up the flex plate. And luckily he found that, and unfortunately though, that meant he was not able to make it to Hinton, so that sucked. But on that note, he did end up replacing that flex plate with a Circle D flex plate, which I actually have in stock right now. If you guys need one, I have them up on my site. I'll link them down below. On that note, I am now a Circle D dealer if you guys need one. A good friend, Pete Nichols, moved over there from Hughes, as some of you may already know, and of course I followed him. He's been a great help to me and a lot of my friends and the channel, so of course I'm going to stick with him always. So if you guys need anything from them, let me know. I'll help you out. We actually almost didn't even go to the race just because Michaels wasn't the only one that we thought may have been hurt. As my last pass Friday night, as you've seen, I did shake the tires and just go into a bad spin. However, for whatever reason, I decided to get back into it, and whenever I did, for whatever reason, the car laid over really hard at the end of the pass, and I could not find anything in the logs to show there was an issue or anything with the plugs or anything like that. Pulled the plugs, everything, couldn't find anything at all. I also ended up getting a flat on that pass, which ended up being one of my front runners. The valve stem had actually come loose. So luckily that was not too hard of a fix, but it was something that we had to fix the night before the race. Ended up not getting to bed until 5 o'clock in the morning after pulling that tire off and fixing that valve stem and just going through the whole car trying to figure out why it laid over at the end of the pass. So I had no idea what was going on there. Went into the race not knowing for sure if it's going to run right or have all the cylinders or what was going on, but we decided, we might as well go and see what happens. All right, so here we are going into first round. As I said, we were really unsure what was going to happen with the car since we had issues the night before, and I was also really unsure on what to do with the tune-up due to the issues we were having, and how the car was working great at the beginning of the night, Friday night, and then all of a sudden I couldn't get the thing to go down. So I wasn't sure if I had learned anything or not. So I ended up just kind of going on a little bit of a conservative tune, however not too conservative to where I'd get ran over if I raced someone that had some power in there as first round. So had to try and find that middle ground there, and feel like I did a decent job of that. But anyways, for my first round draw, we had got the Barney Fox body, and there was a little bit of drama around this race. I will show you guys the video first, and then we will talk about that afterwards. All right, so as you guys seen, I was able to get across the finish line first in that race. Going back to the drama from that race, what happened there was I ended up bumping just slightly after I was stopped by the flagger. And in the driver's meeting, they had said if you move after the flagger locks you in, that is a jump. So that was my mistake. I did just barely move, maybe an inch or two, and I didn't move across the line or anything. But that was a rule. I broke it, so that was a problem there, and they did end up protesting that. Also, he had bumped right whenever he was stopped, but that was, he probably hit his button before he was actually locked in, where mine, it seemed like it was just after I was locked in. So there was an issue there. However, they did end up agreeing to rerun the race. So we agreed to that since, I had bumped after I was locked in, although I did make it to the finish line first and didn't leave before the light came on or anything. That was a rule, so I did break that rule. I was frustrated to be rerunning it. More so just frustrated with myself for doing that. It was dumb and it wasn't going to change the outcome of the race. I don't know why I bumped. Also not really used to doing stuff off of a flagger, used to doing stuff off of a light. So my mistake there. So anyways, we ended up rerunning it. I used the data from that first pass, which had went pretty well. It went exactly what I wanted it to. It went right down, and it seemed like from the data that it wanted quite a bit more power. So decided, all right, we will turn it up, and we'll go back and do the rerun and see if we can get around him again. That was a fast car, and I learned later on that that was probably one of the top contenders to win this whole deal. So and he's won a lot in the past. Hadn't known about that before, but seeing afterwards, that's a fast car and he wins a lot of stuff with it. So anyways, here is how the rerun went. All right, so as you guys seen there, I was able to get across the finish line first again. He did end up jumping there. Even if I didn't get across the finish line first, I would have had that one. It was a really pretty close race until he ended up, I believe he ended up lifting just because he knew that he jumped. So he lifted and I drove around him. I do feel like I may have drove around him anyways, but possibly not. That car was a fast car. But anyways, got that win, and we are now going on to round two. Also, that pass ended up being, I believe it was faster than the pass I'd made before, but I was so thrown off that I forgot to turn my draggy on, so I'm not even sure what it did, but I do believe it was faster, and using that data, I knew I could turn it up more, so turned it up more going into second round. All right, so for second round, I ended up drawing a black first gen Camaro. I'm not sure of the setup on that one, but I believe it was a big block nitrous car. So I will show you guys the video of that one. So as you can see, he spun the tires there off the hit, and I was able to get around him, and I ran a pretty good time on that one. That was pretty close to a personal best on slicks even on that street. So, or that was a personal best on that street. So I was pretty happy with that. The car was doing really well. I ended up leaving pretty much that same tune-up in it the rest of the night. Anyways, we're going into third round now. I believe I ended up drawing a Corvette. I'm not sure exactly what kind of year it was or anything like that. I believe it was a big block nitrous car as well. He was on a 29.5. They were allowed in this race. However, I can't fit a 29.5, and I also just prefer the 28-inch Mickey Thompson for a lot of the stuff that I run on. But anyways, here is the video from that one. So as you guys seen, that was a pretty good race. I was able to get around him though, and that pass I also ended up in the right lane, and as I said, I pretty much left the tune-up the same from that last pass the rest of the night, other than some minor changes, and that one right there actually ended up going a little bit quicker than the pass before, so I was pretty happy with that and knew that I could go just as fast in the right lane as I could the left lane, which looking at them before, I felt like both lanes were pretty even at that time. But it was still good to make a pass in that lane and be able to repeat what I did in the left lane. So anyways, from there, we are going into the semifinals. There ended up being 3 left, and Boosted ended up getting the bye into the final, and I ended up racing the yellow S10. I don't remember the combo on that one. I think it was a big block nitrous deal again. That truck was running really good, and he was also in the final of the truck class. So he actually ended up running the final of the truck class first, and he did end up winning that class. That was a very fast truck. And so anyways, we ended up racing for the semifinals, and I will show you guys that race now. Alright, so once again, I was able to get around him. I did end up going a little bit slower at that pass. I ended up getting out of the groove some and did a little bit of pedaling, which ended up offsetting my boost, just because that's how I have it set up in the ECU. So I ended up going a little bit slower that pass, but the front half looked like it was on its way to make the same pass. So, and I feel like I was just had myself lined up a little bit crooked, or just drove the car left a little bit. I don't feel like it actually was spinning, and the data showed the same. So anyways, there we are. We're going into the finals with BoostedGT. One thing that did happen before that semifinal, there was grudge racing and testing in between rounds, and there was a truck that ended up scattering his rear end in the right lane and putting lots of parts and fluid down in that lane right there on the starting line. So that really sucks. And it had done a little bit of damage to the right lane. So the right lane wasn't quite as good. There were some passes that were able to be made on it before to make it come around some more, but it wasn't as good as it was earlier whenever I made that my fastest pass of the night. But I was super excited to be going into the finals with Boosted. I think I was more nervous before that semi-final race than I was before the final, just because I knew if I won that race, I was going to be going to the finals with BoostedGT, and that was just crazy to me. Obviously, I've been watching him for years and years and years, even before I did any of this stuff or had any fast cars or any cars at all. So I've been watching him for a really long time, just everywhere, 1320 videos, Street Outlaws, all that stuff. And, always been a fan of that car for sure. Nothing like a small tire car going out there beating up on big tire cars and, just beating up on other small tire cars too. Obviously, it's a very fast car and a very well-known car, and I was really excited to be running against him. So here we are, we're going into the finals with BoostedGT. So as I said before, I ended up leaving the tune-up pretty much the same the rest of the night. I did end up tightening my traction control up a little bit. That way, if I did spin, it would catch it pretty quick and bring it back. So here we are. We'll show you guys that final race. One thing that I forgot to mention, I believe, is I did end up losing the coin flip. So Boosted got the lane choice and of course chose the better lane, the left lane. So I was in the right lane there, and unfortunately we also had a little bit of confusion there getting lined up, but it was also just the worst lane. And yeah, I ended up getting into some traction control there in the 60 foot, and unfortunately I was not able to come around him. I do feel like I was just barely pulling on him, but that car back halves really well. It's got a forced induction GTR turbo just like I do, although his is a good bit bigger than mine. Although neither one of ours were near maxed out, but that car back halves well, and it left pretty good too. And if you make any little mistake or have any little hiccup, you're gonna lose, and that's exactly what happened. But still super happy to even be in the finals with that car, and really happy to be able to run with that car. Obviously, as you guys seen, I was right there at his door. I did end up going a little bit slower than my passes earlier in the night, but that's what happens. Time slips don't win races. Yeah, that's how it goes. That's part of racing. But he was a really cool guy. He offered to split, and that helped pay for our trip and some more entry fees later on down the road. So that was really cool of him. It was $8,000 to win. So it was nice of him to split that with us, and it was really nice to meet him and Kayla. They were really cool people, and yeah, we had a really good time. And yeah, so we're going to continue doing this kind of stuff, this slick tire racing, and keep on going. I've got more content to share with you guys on this stuff, and we've got more races. We've even been to a race here this last weekend since this one, and have that to show you guys as well. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys are still here if you were here for the 4.8 stuff on radials. I know I've changed up a lot on you guys. I will get more into what has changed on the car, and we will, like I said, get back into the showing a little bit about what happened there at the end with the 4.8, and talk to you guys a little bit more about what's going on with it now and all that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys will be here for the next one, and I plan to be posting a lot more often again. So anyways, thank you guys for sticking around, and we'll see you guys in the next one.